was running a group and I need to do an icebreaker. Hi, thank you for joining. This is Monday Mavericks. Woo! I love this series because this is exactly what Game Changers is about. This is about taking people that are doing awesome stuff in our community and giving them a platform to tell all of you, which hopefully will then inspire you to do something for our community. And then you can come on Monday Mavericks because we need all of us to be doing stuff to reach people all around the world to help support and give help to those who are living with OCD. So welcome and thank you for being here. My name is Chrissy Hodges. I am the executive director and founder of OCD Gamechangers. I'm the co-founder of OCD Peers, that's a group practice we run at OCDpeers.com. Peer Recovery Services. I'm the author of Pure OCD, the invisible side of OCD. What is it? The invisible side of obsessive compulsive disorder. I'm trying to hurry. And then I run a private practice with peer support around the world. So thank you for being here. I'm so excited to have Lori on. Lori's one of my favorite people ever, and we are both in Colorado. Yay! So Lori, introduce yourself and then give it back to me.
Is there anything that you don't do? Maybe you should list those things.
I don't skydive.
Okay, great. I do not skydive.
Hey, Dave. Yay, Dave.
Well, hi, everyone. I am Lori Johnson. I am the clinical director and owner of a group practice here in Lakewood, Colorado, called In Focus Counseling. Myself and my team, we are focused on specializing in addiction as well as obsessive compulsive disorder and anxiety. So those are our focus areas, and we have an awesome team. Yeah. So I'm really excited to be here. And as Chrissy said, we're both here in Denver. So that's exciting as well.
Well, Neil just joined and said, what? Hey, guys.
Hi, Neil.
Thanks for being here, y'all. So Monday Mavericks comes on every other Monday. It's a part of our series where we really want to bring people on that are doing things that maybe you don't know about, or they're doing things in their community. And as we talked about with Tawana on Friday, it's so important to get involved in your community. Getting involved locally really can transfer over into internationally and really make a difference. And Lori is just one of those people. So thank you for being here, Lori. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I want to ask first, because I always love to hear kind of the story. How did you get into treating OCD addiction? And actually, Dave just brought up too that y'all treat eating disorders as well, correct?
Yes, we do. Mostly primary.
Wait a minute, let me ask you something. Is there anything you don't treat?
Maybe. Well, what we find is, and I think that's really where my skill set is just being able to conceptualize lots of different things and how they're connected, which is kind of how I got into work. I started in the addiction realm, and what I saw in different facets of treatment was that, sometimes there were anxiety pieces and compulsive behaviors, whether it was eating disorders, whether it was checking things or whatever, people weren't getting better after they were seeking recovery from their addiction. And then it was kind of that whack-a-mole feature that all of us clinicians talk about. So whatever it is related to OCD and or addiction, there may always be something else, or sometimes there is nothing else, but at least being able to kind of pivot and make a game plan around that. Yeah, so we do work with eating disorders as well. So treatment centers with addiction, eating disorder treatment centers, there was always an undertone of, now especially looking back, always an undertone of OCD that it was really a high need population. And I see that a lot now that I've focused on that in my practice.
Awesome. So how did you get into treating this?
By seeing it in different treatment centers, go untreated.
Did you already answer that?
Kind of. No.
Well, I know, because I interrupted you and I just wanted to make sure if there was some story you wanted to share.
No.
You're like, repetitive question.
Well, there's more to it. It's hard to just narrow it down, which is why, when you're being interviewed like this, you're just like, well, there's a whole story. There's all these, little moments and things. But I think most importantly, like my heart and my passion in the beginning of my career was definitely around the addiction realm. And then in being trained in CBT and like doing ERP protocol in treatment centers with eating disorders, mostly around food and um, encouraging people to eat and getting them over the fear of particular kinds of food or eating in general, that that was always there. So my skill set was also there. And I'm like, oh, these things, right? Addiction and OCD, like they are very, very similar. And so that's kind of how I got into this. I think my addiction experience definitely spawned out of where I'm from, people in my own life who have struggled with addiction. My sister's in recovery, and I'm very proud of her. And I know how much work it takes for people, and that extends itself to OCD as well. That is not in particular to addiction.
Yeah,
That's
so
why I marry them. I marry them together and just be able to pivot when needed.
which kind of brings me to my next question that we did not talk about before now, so I'm springing something on you. Um, there seems to be a lack of therapists that will treat addiction and OCD, whether that's co-occurring or however else. And this is leaving a huge portion of our population out in the cold, not able to get better and struggling with both for years and years. So what are your thoughts on that? I don't really know what the question is. I just wanted to kind of bring that up to make sure that we address it.
Absolutely. I think that that's one gap in the community, period. And I see it all the time. And I think that's where, my passion comes in, is that treatment facilities who treat addiction are now willing to incorporate OCD components into their training programs. But the opposite is really difficult, because I think sometimes clinicians don't have any training around addiction. They don't understand the medication assisted therapies or treatments that allow people to take a harm reduction approach, or that can support sobriety in a different way. And I think sometimes people who don't have any training just say, oh, I don't do that. So it excludes a gigantic part of a population that is struggling with both. And then you go back to this whack-a-mole, right? I'm doing really great on my ERP work, and now I'm drinking all the time or using, or I had an addiction before, and now that I've done this ERP, the way that I'm coping is I didn't actually understand that that's another coping strategy for me, and now I'm doing something that's harmful to myself or my life or my job, or is just avoiding OCD altogether.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like bridging that gap is so, so important for us as a community, and for you as an advocate too.
It's hard with, and I have said this before and I'll say it again, very high percentage of people that I work with disclose that they're struggling with addiction, whether that be porn or drinking or sex or gambling. I think the word on the street is that they can't get treatment if they disclose their addictive behaviors, because the therapist will go, you've got to get that under control before. And so then people hide it. And I don't blame them, to be honest. Like
There's a lot of shame and guilt and
right.
embarrassment.
Well, and people live with OCD for, the average, especially, pure O, or, the intrusive thoughts with middle rituals, they live with this for 10, 12, 15 years. Really? They're not going to develop an unhealthy coping skill. Hi.
Yeah, and I think, there's this difference between addiction, like as a medical model, right? That addiction is a disease versus substance abuse, right? Some people still use that terminology, is that it's about a choice. And for some people it may be, and for some people it is really kind of that medical model. I think most individuals in the addiction community are willing to acknowledge that. And some people are still kind of on that morality fence that drinking is something that you can control. Or you throw in another, OCD or another anxiety disorder, or even depression or any other mental health. It's not so easy and clear cut in that way.
No, it's not. No,
So
it's not.
the ability for people to get help, I think, is really important, which is, as you know, Margaret Sisson with Riley's Wish is really about education and awareness of, addiction and OCD alongside each other. And that's the most important thing, in my opinion, is simultaneous treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's hard to come across. So I'm a licensed addiction counselor and a licensed professional therapist. So I have a realm and I have tons of training in both. And it's quite a dedication. Or even in a rural area or different parts of the world who don't have access to care, it's hard to come across someone who can really understand both and have a treatment plan and a treatment protocol for both alongside each other.
It's also hard to come across people and therapists that might not make you feel shame and ashamed of. And just, full disclosure, everyone, I'm pretty open about the fact that I struggle with substance use. And so it's been something that's been ongoing my entire adult life. Sometimes are worse than others. I work really hard at it. But it's, I am one out of so many people that feel a ton of shame and feel a ton of guilt. And I feel really lucky, Lori, to know people like you and Patrick McGrath and Jamie Valdez, and those of you that are really dedicated, Margaret, of course, dedicated to, the educational piece and the reduction of shame in order for people to feel worthy enough to get treatment. And I think that that's a really important statement.
It is. I think it is about worth and embarrassment and shame and all these things, but I think the number one culprit is just the fact that we compare ourselves to our peers, to our siblings, to anyone else in the world on what things should be like. And if we don't fit that should, then it's difficult to talk about. And I'm sure you've heard many stories, as have I, about people with OCD, the sufferers who it took so long to be able to be comfortable to say, these are what my intrusive thoughts are targeted on. Can you help me? But that flood of that feeling of like, oh my God, I'm going to be rejected and someone's going to lock me up or put me in a mental hospital or take away my kids. That fear of that ultimate rejection, I think.
I also think it's worth mentioning, this is turning it into a whole like OCD addiction talk, but I'm just going to keep going with it. I'm also going to mention how scary it is for people when their only coping mechanism is addiction and they have been and substance use and they have been surviving for over a decade with OCD. And the last thing they want to do is go to a therapist and have a therapist go, oh, well, you need to quit, because they cannot fathom quitting something that has kept them alive at the hands of OCD. Now, I know that doesn't make sense because often addiction can have awful consequences, but in someone's mind who's just been surviving something, sometimes that is their only lifeline to be able to go day to day. And they're scared someone's going to say, you have to quit tomorrow. And that's basically like saying everything that gives you comfort, we're going to take in order for you to do ERP, which is awful.
Yeah, and it's hard. So I think, primarily with anyone out there who, may be struggling with that, like you need an evaluation. You need to make sure that you can stop or can do a harm reduction, because sometimes people's level of drinking, your body has gotten really tolerant to it and it can be dangerous.
Yeah.
So just knowing that there are people out there and seeking out that specificity can really help. I love thinking about this. Can we have another hour?
We'll bring you on for a fireside on this. Okay. For sure. Like we've had one before and Neil came on. We could bring Neil on too. It would be great.
I watched yours and Neil's. It was great.
Okay, so let's move on from there. We've got lots to talk about. Okay, so Lori, you're doing all this amazing stuff. You've grown your practice like crazy in the last, couple years, training, doing everything. What is coming down the pipeline for you? I know there's lots of really fun stuff.
I have my hands in a lot of buckets right now. I naturally am a creative, so I love doing stuff. I love just kind of being in the mix and thinking about things in an alternative way. So some of the things that are coming down the pipeline are a lot of partnerships with other people outside of the practice, with Gamechangers, with OCD peers, with Carla D'Agostino, with Jamie Valdez. We have all these projects going on. So just to kind of keep them short and succinct, right now we'll be doing some focus groups for OCD Gamechangers.
Yes.
The focus groups will be around, well, mine in particular will be around training, but there's also some around advocacy and other things. Super excited to play a role in that, because I think that not only clinicians, but people in the community are like chomping at the bit for something new, and to have a sense of community and collaboration with like good ideas. Everybody has such good ideas. Can't help them all individually. OCD peers, myself and Carla D'Agostino of Ignite Counseling Colorado will be doing some consultations for clinicians, OCD peers, getting some things started, just to kind of cast the net. Yeah, that does say cast the net wider for people worldwide, just to get some consultation and have some space to do that. A book.
Yes, tell us about it.
Myself and Carla are working on a book with regard to supervision, specifically for OCD, focusing that around navigating for both the clinician who's looking for a supervisor and both the supervisor kind of in a rural area or something outside of their training. That way they can provide the support for the clinician who is doing exposure and response prevention. Because
can I give a clarifying question? Some people who are watching this may not understand what supervision is.
Yeah, so supervision is when clinicians, whether unlicensed or licensed, need to have a third-party support, someone overseeing their cases that really gives them a non-judgmental view. So anytime you're seeing a clinician, each and every person has gone through supervision to make sure that they're a quality clinician coming out into the field and seeing clients like yourself.
And in fact, it's required for
licensure. Yes. So that's why it's important to often have a licensed therapist, is because they've been through someone observing and watching and making sure that they're doing things appropriately and ethically, and also being challenged on their own biases.
Great. Okay.
Writing.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure people are. What?
And the clinician is somebody like myself who is licensed and who is working with clients directly.
So for the book, what's the goal for the book, and where's the need?
The goal for the book and the high need for that is really about rural communities where there is no access to care. It's like a manual for clinicians and their supervisors to be able to implement the supervision and exposure and response prevention anywhere. So, I mean, we're not at the stage where translation is an option at the moment. We're still kind of like maybe almost a quarter through the planning. This is early baby phase, but I'm sharing it because I'm super excited. But it would give an opportunity for someone to be able to pick this up and go through the manual and be able to implement something to a case that they've never heard about. Even if they have no ERP training, they can kind of go to the chapter and refer to that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we hope it is.
Yeah. When do you predict that it will be ready?
I'd say this is probably like 1.5 to 2 year project.
Okay.
But we're doing a lot of data collection. So if anyone would like to contribute to that, feel free to reach out to me, and we'll get some information that can be contributed to, especially if you're in a rural area or somewhere across the world who doesn't have access to care.
Where can they reach out to you?
That would be at Denver, DENVER, in focus @gmail.com.
Here we go.
There's more, but whew.
So if you're interested or you want to be part of the research, right, then email you.
Yes.
Okay.
So more specifically for clinicians,
okay,
or supervisors.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm going to elaborate a little bit on the
please talk about the focus groups.
Well, first, I'm going to talk about the consultation groups. So this collaboration has come about since we created OCD Peers. So OCD Peers is a group-run practice. It's modeled after Huddle Care. Don't worry, I did not steal it from Maggie. She knows fully well what we're doing. And has been an amazing support and mentor through the process. But we run groups every single week. Neil, who was just here, I don't know if he's still here, Neil Himmer, he's one of our group moderators or peer, whatever we call them, and myself and my business partner, Melissa Hunter. And we are so interested in expanding not only to individuals who live with OCD, we just expanded to family and friends. We're running a group right now every other week. We are going to add an LGBTQ group support with OCD, and then we're going to add another group for minorities with OCD support. All of this is happening in October, and also what's happening are the OCD therapist consultation groups. Now, we will run those through OCD Peers, but we are not going to have anything to do with them. So it's going to be Lori running them. You're going to have qualified clinicians there. They're going to run all kinds of different types of consultations, right? So if you could explain the benefit of consultation groups and then the kind of groups that you're going to be running.
So consultation is for clinicians who do not directly need supervision at the moment, but it's to get an unbiased perspective from additional peers where something on a case may be kind of like stuck, or a particular intervention isn't working the way that it should in the textbook realm. So consultation will be focused on questions and things that clinicians need, support that they need, referrals that they need for their clients or their caseloads. And the cool thing about that is that we're all joining as part of a community together, even from afar. So consultation can happen across state lines. And for those who need that support in between, it's a really great place to kind of hop on and have OCD specific trained therapist to be there to help you. And kind of everybody puts their 2 cents in, and really, these are kind of the game changers behind, and the OCD peers behind your treatment. Like, we take this seriously, and it's not just one person that's helping you or helping the community in general. We all have to kind of do this as a collective, and the consultation will be a place for that, for clinicians to get some support, regardless of what state you're in.
Right. And everybody puts their 2 cents in and they come up with $1.
They put your 2 cents in, and they're really helpful to your treatment plan and your treatment goals.
Thank you for clarifying that. We're super excited to get those started, and I'm super excited that I don't have to run them. So thank you for running them.
You are welcome. I'm excited about it.
So lastly, we're going to talk about the focus group. Woo! So this is through OCD Gamechangers. This is so shameless promotion, but it doesn't matter because Lori is one of our leaders for the focus groups, and I want to have the opportunity to talk about this. So I'm super passionate about the bigger issues in our community that are not getting solved. And when Lori was talking about earlier how people are just chomping at the bit, they just want to do something and they don't know what to do. This is why there's cultural, financial barriers to treatment. There's logistical barriers to treatment. There's There is training barriers. There is awareness of how to treat OCD barriers. We all know the pitfalls that people fall in from day one, symptoms show up, day 10,058 when they finally get diagnosed. All of those pitfalls, and then trying to find proper treatment. I'm so passionate about them, but this is how it feels. When you look at these problems, you turn and you see, you're like, I'm going to charge and fix them. And then all of a sudden it's this humongous issue and you feel so small, so stupid. And then all of a sudden all your ideas deflate. And you're like, never mind. I'm not going to solve them. And you walk away with your tail between your legs, but it's still nagging at you. And so many therapists, so many advocates, so many people in this community, family members feel this way. And I took a leap of faith like a year and a half ago. It was in Austin when everybody was together for the conference anyway. And we were doing a launch for OCD Gamechangers, kind of like a little party. And I was like, what if we did a little brainstorm session? And I just threw the invite out there, like, no one's going to come. And like 30 people showed up. And then I was like, I have to buy dinner for 30 people. Shit. They have to buy their margaritas on their own. And what we did is, what I think the most magic behind what happened on that night was not just the fellowship of being there with the people that are interested in the same things, but people didn't want to stop brainstorming. I'm like, y'all, fajitas are here. And they were like, no, we need 5 more minutes. And that's what was so inspiring. This has always been a passion of mine. And now that COVID has hit, it really derailed a lot of the smaller events we were going to do. And I just thought, this is the perfect time. Therapists are feeling very isolated. They really need to be rejuvenated. They really need to connect with their peers. Remember why they're doing this, because it's hard when you're behind a Zoom meeting all day, every day.
Yeah.
So I launched these.
We're traveling too, like traveling to conferences and having kind of that consultation amongst peers, and that's not there either.
It's like the recharge.
Exactly.
So I just thought, I'm gonna do this. Lori was just telling me, like, I remember seeing her and I'm like, I think I should do this. Well, that was way back in the day, but either way, I think I should do this. And then I'm like, no, I won't do this. Well, I carried it around and I launched it, and we already have so many amazing therapists signed up. So we have 3 groups. The first one is cultural and financial barriers. The second one is training. And we're talking about training people in your community, meaning the therapists in your community. And also, I'm going to be bold and let's just move towards how do we change the curriculums in the academia? Because that's where we really need to start. So let's start somewhere. If it takes us 2 years, it doesn't matter, because it started fall of 2020 for OCD Gamechangers. And the last one is OCD Gamechangers is committed to wanting to provide resources from day one when symptoms show up to the day that you can graduate from therapy, and even beyond that to where you can get to radical acceptance, because there's all that over there too. So
the long recovery journey.
Yeah. So we're coming together, a third group, to really hone in on resources in every state, whether that be therapy, support groups, peer mentors, activities, events, and then we're going to go international. So we're going to build this from the bottom up, and then we're going to have it at OCD Gamechangers for free. We want to be the hub that you come to, where I'm in this state right here. I'm between, I just graduated therapy, but I feel lost. I just graduated therapy, but I want to do advocacy. Where do I go? OCD Gamechangers. I just got diagnosed, but I don't know what therapist to go to. Where do you go? OCD Gamechangers. So that's what we're starting. And Lori is going to be leading our training group.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Because I think the training component is gigantic, and it's something that, I can do on a regional level, and am doing on a regional level here in Rocky Mountain area. It's so needed. So I cannot wait to hear what everyone else is thinking.
And to change the world.
Exactly. And as we were talking about this kind of like plan, and probably always, just imagine all this stuff and all this collaboration and all these people are like this like big Kool-Aid man just like busting through brick wall. Like, oh yeah.
That's what it is.
It
You
feels
look,
that way. It's exciting.
you look at the problem and you go away with your tail between your legs, and now we're all going to look at the problem and we are going to beat it down. It's going to be ours. So just so you know, I chose Lori to lead this group just because of her expertise in being local, which is what we talked about on Friday with Tawana. Just like if you want to make change, you've got to start local. And that's what Lori did. She's, I almost said infested, but I would say infiltrated.
Infiltrated. I prefer that. I'm definitely not like bugs or rats or anything.
Well, when therapists hear that they are doing the treatment wrong, they're going to think of you as a bug and a rat. You know what I'm saying? But Lori is committed to training therapists. I've been to some of your training sessions of I want to meet with therapists and tell them they're doing it wrong.
It's true. It's true. And I gently break the barrier.
Yeah. And I was at one time when this lady was like, no, EMDR works. I will never forget that. And I'm like, bitch, no. No. I'm like, Lori, go before I go.
It normally starts, well, actually.
So anyway, that's why I wanted Lori to be part of this. She's just such it's just invaluable member of the Game Changer family and community, and we're just lucky to have you. So we're going to wrap up now. So final question. Sometimes I ask people, I'm going to ask you, what advice would you give therapists if they really want to step out and do a project but they're scared?
OCD Gamechangers. That's what we just marketed here. No, I would say start with Google, because you're going to find a variety of different places, right? There's nonprofits and other foundations and the IOCDF and A Peaceful Mind and OCD Gamechangers and all of these resources out there. Made of millions, right? There's more. If I'm mentioning you, it's not because I don't love you. It's, just like starting with those resources and really like letting your ideas, even if it's like, oh my gosh, this is too big and I have to do it all. You don't have to do it all. You have to do it one step at a time, right? That's how I operate in my life, even as hard as it is. And that's what we encourage all of our clients to do, is like one step at a time. That's all you can handle. So get all your ideas out on a piece of paper, right? Write them all down. Don't judge them. Don't critique them. Just get it all out and see what's there workable for one step at a time.
Beautiful. And I will piggyback on that. Collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. We cannot do this alone. We have big problems to solve, and we've got smart, motivated, passionate people, and we're going to come together and we're going to solve them, and you are one of them. So if you're a therapist, go to OCD Gamechangers, look under the events tab, go and sign up. There's a fee that's a donation that goes towards your quarterly participation in this, and the profits off of that are going to go into an ERP scholarship fund that OCD Gamechangers is creating in 2021. We're super excited about it. And if you're an advocate, if you're somebody that's passionate and also has ideas, we'll be starting one for you in January. And don't you worry, I'll be advertising it here. So tune in every time we do our Fireside Fridays and our Maverick Mondays, Monday Mavericks, whatever. It's the same thing. And also our TikTok Tuesdays. Check it out on our Instagram page, our young adult, and our Facebook page at OCD Gamechangers. Our young adults are kicking ass. They're doing some really cool stuff on TikTok. Thank goodness, because I don't have to. I'm actually featured in one soon, but I didn't have to do anything but do a video. There's that, and there's all kinds of initiatives coming up this October. So stay tuned. Check out our website, OCDGamechangers.com, and please keep tabs on our Facebook page. And if you have ideas, if you're doing something, please email us, ocdgamechangers@gmail.com. We want to support you. We want to elevate you, because that's what we're here to do, because we need everybody's voice to make a difference. Lori, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Thanks for all of you who tuned in as well.
Yay, and thank you everybody for being here. And we will see you a week from Friday for our next Fireside Chat. And I have no idea who's on, but I'll see you there with that person.
Bye-bye.
Bye.